Okay, we're going to get started.
Good evening. This is the regular meeting of the Administration and Public Works Committee for Monday, October 27th. We have a quorum. May we have a motion to approve the minutes of October 13th?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Are there any additions, corrections? If seeing none, and I see no lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, our first item for consideration would be the city's payroll through October 5th, 2014, in the amount of $2,641,880.71. Move approval.
Second. Sorry.
I'm sorry, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The city bills for October 28th, 2014, in the amount of $2,183,663.39. Move approval.
Second.
Did anyone get a chance to look at the bills list?
Yep.
Everything is satisfactory? No deletions, no additions? And no lights? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alderman Burrs, you're on.
Yes, I ask you to move approval A 3.1, the approval of a single-source elevator service agreement with ThyssenKrupp Elevator Corp. for the Sherman Plaza Self Park at a cost of $34,436.16. The proposed five-year service agreement is effective April 1st, 2014 to March 31st, 2019. It should be noted, this agreement includes a cost reduction of $4,747 for the first year, which is an approximately 12% decrease when compared to last year's agreement.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved in second. Alderman Rainey.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I just wanted to make a comment about the importance of elevator contracts. If you've ever managed buildings that have elevators in them, then you know that there is nothing more important than a spot-on, highly qualified elevator maintenance company, especially the one that installed them originally. So this is a very surprising extension and a great contract, and you know that it's a sole source is an absolute necessity here.
Okay. I see no other lights. All in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me, any opposed? Alderman Rainey?
Yes, ma'am. Next item is a contract with Place Consulting for consulting work to create a special service area for the Main Chicago and Dempster Chicago Merchants District. This is at a cost of $36,983.78. Funding is from the Economic Development Fund's redevelopment consulting account.
Second.
I didn't know we had.
Yeah, I seconded. I think Jane and I both seconded.
Before we move on, I believe we have one speaker. Mr. Allen Price wanted to speak on this.
Microphone.
Mr. Alden Price wanted to speak on this topic.
Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have some properties on Main Street and have been in the Main Street Merchants Association for about 9 years. I was president for 5 years. And I've observed the benefit that SSAs have brought to communities like Andersonville and Edgewater, and have seen the steps in the Rogers Park area that SSAs have brought to improving that community. And I think it would be a great benefit to our community too, because as some of the text justifying the possibility of a TIF or a SSA in our area indicates, we are kind of a blighted area. We are operating under potential in terms of the commercial and the commercial revenues the area should really be generating, particularly west of Chicago Avenue. And this exists even with all the new construction on the corners of Main and Chicago and farther south. So I would like to see the city go ahead with funding the exploration of an SSA. And then I think, of course, the effectiveness of any money that might be derived from the property owners and commercial tenants in providing funds for operating the SSA, we'll have to see how effective that is. But for the time being, I think we need to explore this, and I support that venture.
Thank you, sir, for your comment. Alderman Burrs?
I actually had a question for you. What are your businesses? Can you come to the mic?
Yeah.
The reason I'm asking, one is it's good to know who is the face behind the businesses. That's great, and it's a good way to plug your businesses on me.
Okay. Lupita's Restaurant, Dave's Rock Shop, The Wine Goddess, and Trattoria DOC. And I might mention that every time we've had a vacancy on Main Street, we have, even at the sacrifice of a year's vacancy, a loss of rent, we have been very conscious in trying to seek tenants who add a little pizzazz to the community and in trying to elevate the image of the community. And that's true of DOC, and it's true of the Wine Goddess and Healthy Green Goods prior to them.
Yeah.
So another reason why I'd like to see the SSA, so we can continue doing
My
that.
nephew, when he visits from St. Louis, insists on going to the Rock Shop.
Great. Alderman Grover?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I have a question for Ms. Nyden. And my question is really, we're a long way off from instituting this SSA, but what's the interplay between the operation of the SSA and our Great Merchants Grant Program? So it's $18,000 that goes to Chicago, Maine, and Chicago Dempster business associations. And would they no longer participate in Great Merchants Grant, or will we let the SSA figure that out?
Good evening, Johanna Nyden, Economic Development Manager. That's correct. They would no longer be able to apply for the Great Merchants Grant. The program specifically prohibits if you're part of an SSA for seeking funds. And the purpose of the Great Merchant Grant really is to encourage business districts to organize. It's to get them together and get them to organize to be a regular group so that they can access these funds. So I think this is a symbolic of merchants that were coming together for many years under the Great Merchant Grant Program and are now ready to take a next step and to become something bigger than the Great Merchant Grants.
To graduate to an SSA. That's great. Thank you.
I see no other lights. Mr. Lyons, Director Lyons, would you?
Yes, just one follow-up to that, though. As is the case in our downtown SSA, the city partners with that SSA because all of the property owners have said, we will put our dollars in through the SSA. And so a lot of the downtown maintenance and some of the marketing is done in cooperation with the Economic Development Fund. So it's not as if there's a straight takeaway from this, though. As you move forward, who knows how the SSA will develop its programs. So there could be the opportunities for partnership in the future.
I see no more lights. It's been moved and second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Alderman, was that Alderman Grover, was you? Or was that you? I'm sorry, I just lost count.
It's Alderman Grover, A4.
I think it's A4, Alderman Grover.
I think we're on. I move A4, Ordinance 125-014. This is introduction of a liquor license for Bangers and Lace, Class C1.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second. Alderman Rainey.
Madam Chair, we've had a discussion previously about this license, and there's only one thing that excites me more than this occupancy, and that is the occupancy of Little Beans at some point at Asbury and Oakton. However.
That's the next one, right? That's the next.
But, no, I'm talking about Bangers and Lace. However, I'm saying how important this use is and this ordinance is also. But we don't need to go to 3 o'clock. There was a discussion with the proprietors, and there was a suggestion that they do a 2 o'clock and then go to 3 if they found that their clientele was demanding it. This has nothing to do with the previous reputation. What it has to do with is if there's a 3 o'clock place open, There are very few customers that are going to be going there that are under, 40, 45. I think it's going to be an attraction after a certain time at night for people who want a 3 o'clock drink. And there just seems to be no need for that. And I would like to move an amendment to limit it to 2 o'clock now, and in 6 or 9 months, review the experience once they open and reconsider it at that time. And, the argument that was made earlier by the proprietors was, this is nothing like the keg, nothing at all like the keg. And of course it's nothing. I mean, this is a fabulous use and a fabulous operator, but 3 o'clock isn't necessary.
Alderman Wilson, I just saw you come, no, you're okay? All right, just 1 second, I have Alderman Burrs, and then Alderman Grover, and then I can call on you, okay?
Grant, hopefully you can answer this, and maybe Johanna might be able to. I can't remember, what other establishments are open till 3 a.m.?
Per the terms of the license, there are 7 other ones. I'd have to pull out the
That's-
list
Okay,
and consult that.
okay.
So I can get that answer back to you.
That's great.
Just I'll look at it right now.
Thanks.
Wait, there are 7 that have 3 o'clock license?
I strike that 6 o'clock. I mean 6 licensees per the terms of the C1. I'll just have to
They're
look
open
at-
till 3 a.m.?
Correct.
Well, they can have the license and not be open.
Okay, got it.
That's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Grover?
Yeah, I just, the proprietor, I don't remember his last name, but Nick is here, and I'd like to ask him, is this something that he could work with, just gradually get to
Yes.
3
Now you
a.m.
come.
With maybe a 2 o'clock close first?
I think, first of all, thank you. My name is Nick Podesta. I am one of the proprietors of Bangers and Lace. We are very excited, and I think the elephant in the room is this is not the keg.
That is not the
Just let's get that
It is.
clear. We're very family orientated. We also, select great food with craft beer. 2 o'clock is something that is, I feel, very reasonable, and I think it's something we could do, and we're very comfortable with that.
Thank you.
Could, Director Farrar, did you find the information yet? Because I'd like to know where they are. Because I think that, I don't,
You never know when you might need something at 3 o'clock.
but they're open to 3 in the morning.
Out there looking around.
Yeah,
Well, no,
Dolores, we see.
Well, the reason why I'm saying that is because if they're in that same area, then I don't want to put restrictions. I would have a problem with putting restrictions
But
on.
Alderman Holmes, one of the things that happens is that there are licenses given, but people do not stay open and do not even advertise that they're open till that time at night.
I understand that.
No,
Oh, okay, all right.
Sorry about that, Grant.
Okay.
could I speak again?
Go ahead, Alderman Rain.
Just so those of you who aren't, haven't been here for decades, the Keg used to be a fabulous family restaurant.
Absolutely.
And 2 of my children's graduation dinners were at the Keg. White tablecloths, beautiful service, gorgeous room. So it has gone through several iterations, and this one appears to be every bit like the original Keg. Fabulous.
Okay. As I said, my only point is fairness. I just want to make sure that we're being, across the board with it. If the other ones are in that area, then I don't know why we wouldn't do that. Well, if it's going to take a minute? Oh, okay. All right.
Do you want to pass it on? And we
Let's
can change it?
hold it here for, just so we can be sure. I just want to make sure that everybody know we're trying to be as fair as we possibly can be. And do that. I know he says he can live with 2 o'clock, and that's fine. But if the others have it,
I would like to add a question to your question, and that is, what is the closing time of those restaurants that
yes.
have a 3 o'clock? Because I know, for example, Ward 8 has a 2 o'clock license. They have closed every night they've been open at 12. That's
Right.
close. But
Okay.
they're going to start staying open until 2 now. And I think that's late enough.
No,
I'll
let's,
withdraw.
I don't want, no,
I hate withdrawing my motion because I'm
I don't
adamantly
want you to
against
do
these
that. I
bars
just-
staying open until 3 o'clock.
and I hear you, and I understand that, but I just want to make sure that we're being fair, and that's where I'm coming from. And, you know,
Why don't we?
so let's just hold it right now
Okay.
for here, and we'll come back to it, because
At
he'll
the
be
end of the
back in
break,
5 minutes. We'll move to the
Fantastic.
next issue, and that's okay. Okay. All right.
Do you want me to take
I'm gonna take
item
take
A5? Sure. Ordinance 126-0-14, increasing the number of Class F liquor licenses for Highland Park CVS LLC, doing business as CVS 8760 at 3333 Central Street. This is for introduction.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Alderman Burris and Alderman Rainey.
I think I'll let Alderman Rainey go first.
Okay.
Madam Chair, in this case, I'm going to ask to have this held until our next meeting. And the reason is as follows. We need to have a sit-down with CVS. I'm going to explain to you a situation that is occurring right now, and I'm looking for a good neighbor policy from CVS. As you know, CVS is the sub-lessee for the Asbury Oakton Little Beans application and lease. Little Beans plans to open up a wonderful use at a place that has been vacant for, I keep saying almost 10 years. I think it's very close to 10 years. CVS has agreed to give Little Beans money for improvements. Several hundred thousand, is it 200,000? How much? 100, whatever it is. It's an amount that has been reported to the Small Business Association. SBA is the lender in this case. SBA is asking that CVS contribute the interior improvements money, and as you know, the place has been really ransacked, prior to releasing the SBA money. It is a policy of something much bigger than all of us, and they will not agree to give the SBA loan until such time as CVS releases the money for the interior improvements. In other words, SBA wants to come in second to. So what has been resolved here is that the money will be released by SBA if CVS simply gives a letter of credit in the amount of the money they plan on giving later. CVS is absolutely refusing, which is shutting down this whole operation. And all of us know that this has been going, this effort to get Little Beans in has been going on for a long, long time. It is absolutely the most exciting thing next to Bangers and Lace that has come to Evanston in a long time. Two deteriorated properties that we have an opportunity to really help and have them shine. And so I would like to set this aside with the approval of the committee for one meeting so that perhaps CVS can realize that we all have to work together in this town. We all have to work together. What happens up on Central Street at CVS is just as important as what happens down at Asbury and Oakton, and one affects the other. And so let's all get together on the same page. Nobody's asking for them to break their back on this. Simply write a letter of credit for the amount of money you've promised to give to Little Beans because of the signing of the lease. This is absolutely a stab in my heart that this is happening. Thank you.
Thank you. So to paraphrase or use a quote from a friend of mine, you're kind of putting a hitch in our giddy up here. putting the Little Beans in Oakton and Asbury. And it's a huge problem for this community for that not to go forward. It would be most timely for CVS Corporate to look at their comprehensive engagement in Evanston. We are one community. We are not North Evanston. We are not South Evanston. We are Evanston. So communication, we all talk. So we know what's going on. It would be really helpful if CVS Corporate knew what you were all doing at the same time when you're coming and asking for something, and at the same time not helping us in a different part of town. So I'm again asking that you talk amongst yourselves, look at a 360 approach to your business here in Evanston, because we look at our community as a 360, what we're doing here.
I see no more lights. Alderman Rainey, you wanted to speak again?
Well, just in following up on Alderman Burris's comments, Ms. Nyden did speak with CVS, the folks that are here in the audience tonight, at least over a week ago about this very thing face-to-face. And so we did give them an opportunity to get in touch with others, and we've gotten nowhere. And now, I don't know if after 6 o'clock tonight something new happened, but my information at 10 to 6 was that they have absolutely refused.
Okay. Well, I think we're all excited about having something on that corner. When I got elected in 2005, it was empty, so that's 9 years ago. So you're probably longer than that, Alderman Rainey, for sure, but I can vouch for that part. Okay. You've heard the request from Alderman Rainey.
It is to hold till our
To
next
hold,
meeting.
and you want it held in committee, or you want
Here in committee.
hold in committee? Is there a second on that? Second. Okay, seeing no more lights, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. A6, Alderman Burrs.
I ask you to move A6, ordinance 127-0-14, increasing the number of Class O liquor licenses for Dill Foods Incorporated, doing business as Shell Gas Station at 2494 Oakton Street.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Alderman Rainey?
It seems like we're all about liquor tonight. I would like to ask the committee to accept a suspension of the rules at the consent agenda. We've been working on this for a while, and maybe we can get them up and running for Thanksgiving, but I doubt it. Maybe Christmas, maybe New Year's Eve.
Okay. All right, there's been a move to suspend the rules. Second? All right, it's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Do we need to go back? All right, now to approve
Bangers.
the actual ordinance. It's been moved in second. All in favor?
Aye, yes,
Aye,
sorry.
yes, aye.
I think I'm right.
No, I thought we were going back to bangers.
Moving introduction.
Yeah,
confused.
moving introduction, okay. And then all in favor, aye. All in, any opposed? Okay, now, I think we can hear from Director Farrar now, and then we'll take our item for discussion.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I have gotten my list. The other establishments that have a C1 license are La Maquina, Tommy Nevins, Prairie Moon, JT's Bar and Grill, Buffalo Wild Wings, and Cheesy's Pub and Grub.
So Tommy Nevins is right down there, all right down in the same area.
Really?
Where's that?
Are you serious?
At 3 o'clock? Is it really?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's on Davis, where the taco place used to be.
Used to be. Mhm.
Austin's Tacos.
Okay,
Right by Coy.
I'll withdraw it. I give up, but I'm just telling you, I just wish it weren't, because it just makes me think, going back in time. It's all right. We just got a report from a journalist, so-called journalist, that cheesy pub is crowded at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You know, when we started, when we started down this slippery slope of alcohol, I told you guys, I just wanted to be fair. If we do it for one, we'll do it for all. So I just think we have to. It's been moved, and Alderman Rainey has withdrawn her motion.
I give up.
Okay, I know. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. We have an item for discussion, APW 1, the City of Evanston's liquor tax and collected liquor tax revenue. And we have 3 speakers. Alderman Wilson. Well, I guess we have a presentation first, right? You want to do the presentation first? And then Alderman Wilson, Alan Price, and Diane, is that Hammond? Okay.
Okay. Can we turn the lights? Because I think there's 2 shades of blue and it comes through. Oh.
This one.
Okay, good evening, Johanna Nyden, Economic Development Division Manager. I was asked following the October 6th Rules Committee to review and try to understand if Evanston is at any kind of competitive disadvantage due to the fact that we have a liquor tax. So this is a presentation that summarizes the memo that was provided in the packet of my attempt to try to understand what's going on with our liquor tax. So I looked at we have a couple different sources of revenue from liquor tax that's on premise and off premise, and those that can very simply be broken down to places where you go, restaurants, where you go and consume alcohol on site and you're charged for it, either through bottles, glasses, other mixed drinks, or you go to a store and you buy wine, beer, or spirits for consumption off-site and in your home. Hopefully your home. Then I gathered some baseline information on where we're at right now, and then tried to understand communities that also have levy a tax on liquor, and then communities adjacent to us that don't, and trying to compare what's happening in Evanston to those communities. Just to remind everybody, the tax on liquor is not just liquor tax. Our code calls it a privilege of purchasing alcoholic liquor. And it's at a rate of 6% on the purchase price, and the dealer of the alcoholic liquor can retain an amount equal to 2% of the total amount of tax collected. So I want to clear up, there may have been some confusion at another point that someone thought that was 2% of the 6%, 2% of a piece of that 6%. It's really 2% of the total amount collected. And the next slide covers where we're at with revenue. We've steadily increased. Interestingly, in the years post 9/11 and as well as the recession, we saw some drops, which seem to indicate that that's when people stop consuming or going out more. So those are in line with what's going on in a larger consumption culture. This blue is not coming through, but this is 57% of the fiscal year 2013. This is for the city of Evanston. This was collected for off-premise by liquor sold for off-premise locations, and then this is 42% was on-premise restaurants, our hotels. That's where that, and then that 1%. Both this was for places such as Ward 8 had a both. You could buy a bottle of wine. You could also consume it on premise. So that 1% wasn't Ward 8, but it's establishments that you can also buy on site as well as consume. And then this is year to date. This is just through July. But you can see, again, this 54% is off-premise consumption, the percent of total liquor tax collected, and 43% is for on-premise consumption. And then 3%, that would indicate that's from things that we now have that we didn't have a year ago, such as temperance and peckish pig, where you can do both for on-site and off-site consumption. And then I dug a little deeper into what the off-premise liquor sales looks like. And if you break down, the majority of the sales that are occurring are at larger type establishments like Jewel or Dominic's, formerly Dominic's, and Trader Joe's. These are establishments where people also have the ability to purchase other goods. And then there are 4 locations in Evanston that are under 10,000 square feet, and they make up about 14% of the total liquor tax collected. So that's, again, the blue, this is the light blue, which is the smaller percentage, and then the 86% is the larger establishments. And then I looked at liquor sales revenue by population because, again, Skokie, Wilmette do not collect a tax. So there's no, it's all proprietary. There's no way to understand how much sales from Evanston might be leaking into Skokie, Wilmette, and even Chicago. While they do levy a small tax, there's no way to compare Chicago to Evanston because it just has a much larger footprint. So I looked at what happens if in other communities to see if we're somehow in the same ballpark, and something's happening in St. Charles that people are spending a lot of money on alcohol, but I think that has a lot to do with the destination aspect of St. Charles. But Evanston is ahead in terms of liquor sales per person, and we base that on a per person of people 20 or above in the based on census data. And then finally, we also, in I did not include the table that was in the memo because it just did not come through in the PowerPoint very well. But we also have the highest, while we have the highest liquor tax, we also have the greatest number of liquor licenses. And we have significantly more for on-premise consumption. And we had a total of 83 licenses for restaurants and bars that people go and consume alcohol on site versus the average of communities compared that is 41. But then we're slightly below average for establishments that would sell for off-premise consumption. And also, Evanston has the fewest acres of land per liquor license. And finally, this is just the table that kind of summarizes it compared to communities that are adjacent. The table was just too big to put in. And that's it.
This report was excellent, Johanna. Thank you very much. And the only thing it shows really is that our liquor tax has absolutely no effect on the sale of alcohol in this town. I mean, and I mean, just the no, except people probably are driving to St. Charles. I mean, that's, but other than that, where is St. Charles? I don't know. Total liquor sales per person is approximately 738 in Evanston, as compared to Oak Park, often compared as similar demographically to Evanston, $429 per person of people over 20 years old. So there is this is an argument to those other communities that they can start raising money by putting a tax on alcohol. This in no way tells me that we need to do anything. Nothing here is broken. There may be 1 or 2 complaints about liquor tax, but it's just not impressing me at all. In fact, I couldn't be more impressed with the operation of our liquor commissioner and our city council and the commission. We're doing a great job. And so are all those establishments, by the way. They've added a lot to this community.
I just had a quick question. What's Chicago's tax, liquor tax?
It's a little more complex than ours.
Yeah.
So Chicago has a 0.25% tax on the retail price of food. So you dine out, you're paying a tax no matter if you consume alcohol or just a Diet Coke, it's the same. So they tax everybody for the eating in piece. And then they do levy a tax on beer in the amount, every alcohol, but it's beer at a 29 cents per gallon, liquor 36 cents a gallon. I'm sorry, liquor 14% less alcohol content, 36 cents. 14% or more alcohol content, 89 cents per gallon, and then 20% alcohol content or more, $2.68 per gallon. So there's about a 6-page document on the City of Chicago's website that you document how much liquor you have in gallons at the beginning of a period, and then how much you sell to other establishments, and how much you sell to the public, and how much you still have on premise, or how much you drop on the ground. It's a very complicated spreadsheet, but that's the way that they calculate the tax.
And based on alcohol content?
For a portion of this,
Mostly,
yes, yeah.
You'd think there'd be a simpler way of doing it.
There is, like,
Okay. I got to wonder if that's something that's very difficult for people who are selling
I'll send you the
serving
spreadsheet.
alcohol. I mean, I don't know how they,
well, one thing
yeah,
for
it
sure
doesn't seem very
is
user-friendly.
it is not easy.
Bangers and Lace in Chicago might be able to attest to the liquor.
Right, right. Okay, we have 3 speakers, Alderman Wilson, Mr. Price, and Diane Hammond.
Thank you very much. Don Wilson, and I live at 1425 Main Street. I don't have to, but in fact. A few things I wanted to point out tonight, and this is speaking from my perspective as an Evanston resident and a consumer of all things that get purchased in Evanston. While I appreciate the presentation, I don't really think that it gave us any information as to how this impacts our retailers. What this does is it tells us that the places, the businesses, the restaurants, the bars, and to some extent the retailers are doing very well. But as we saw from the charts and the information, we have far more of those businesses than other places have. So it's not really that unexpected that we would have more volume in sales. If we have, the chart's not up there anymore, but if we have dozens more businesses, dozens more restaurants, I think it's intuitive and obvious that we would expect they would be selling more alcohol. I think that 6%, and in the wording of the ordinance whenever it was drafted, and I don't know when that was, points out that this was for the privilege of purchasing alcohol. And Evanston has a long and storied past with regard to our relationship with alcohol, and that's evolved over time. But we've gone from a point where we went from 0 in the 70s to the most right now. We used to have the most churches per capita. But things have changed and things have evolved, and I think we are no longer in the business of punishing people for buying alcohol. And to me, a 6% tax, especially in relation to all of the other communities in the state, is punitive. I don't really think that we can look at it any other way. It's probably unfortunate that we've grown accustomed to relying on the income and the revenue from that, but putting that burden on the purchasers of this specific product, I don't think is fair. In addition, as it relates to the retailers, I do think that this is very anti-competitive. Chicago, I'm not going to try to figure out that chart, but Skokie and Wilmette are right on our borders. I don't think it's probably an accident that some of the alcohol vendors and retailers are also close to those borders. It's this kind of a tax when your neighbors have a 0% add-on must be crushing to the other retailers. You can take your large vendors like Jewel, grocery stores. They're selling in volume, but they're also selling other products. They're selling other products with a different markup, different ratios. That's completely different. We saw that over 80% of the off-premises sales are going out the doors of those big businesses. That smaller portion, 14%, I don't know how that breaks down, but if you take the small retailers, and these are the stores that we talk about, they provide, Mr. Price used a word, I forget. Pizzazz. These are the kind of businesses that give us pizzazz. What if we decided to tax guitars? Or something else like that. The small retailers provide a different relationship with their customers, and they provide a different experience, and they draw people to these small shopping districts. And this kind of a tax is very harmful in that context. So I hope that we can revisit this and look at this with a broader perspective, not just how much money we can get, but understand that there are different components and different relationships. Restaurants, again, it's very different. If you go to a restaurant and you buy a bottle of wine, you're not going to pay the same price at the restaurant as you pay at the retailer, right? There's a really big difference there. So the restaurant is getting the benefit of that. So I think we need to reassess how we're doing this and reconsider the way that we're taxing on these retail establishments. Thank you for entertaining my comments.
Let's see. I think the point I would like, a couple of points I would like to make are number one, if you go into a Sam's Club or a Jewel or any of the large purveyors of food and alcoholic beverages, you may not be thinking about the tax on any given item. And when you check out, you get the total bill. When you go into a boutique to buy, maybe to get advice on what to buy, which is very important for the viability and attractiveness of a boutique, like a wine shop, like Vinnick or the Wine Goddess. You go in there for expertise, and you see right there on the ticket, when you pay your bill, that additional 6% on that. If you're buying case quantities, that could very well discourage you from buying there, because now suddenly you're not paying 60 cents on a $10 bottle of wine, if you can find a bottle of wine that inexpensive at a wine boutique. But if you're buying a $100 case or a $200 case of wine, it adds up. And that gives people the incentive to spend time and money to go to a Skokie or a Wilmette or a Chicago to buy liquor or wine where they don't have to pay that tax. So I think the question you have to ask yourselves as people who are setting policy for the city is, yes, I think it's wonderful. When I moved here 35 years ago, we didn't have any alcohol being supplied by restaurants, and now it's been a great growth industry. We're probably doing $40 to $50 million in alcohol revenue in the city of Evanston. We're collecting $2.5 million, something like that, in tax revenue. But if you look at the contribution of the boutiques to that, you're probably talking about under 3 or 4%. So the question you have to ask is, do you want these kinds of businesses to disappear from the cultural framework of Evanston and just focus on purchasing these items from the big box retailers? I think that's the main point I'd like to make. It's really a question of how you want to set the standard for a way of life in Evanston. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane?
So I have a presentation myself by paper. Can I give it to y'all? Sorry. So my name is Diana Hammond, and I live at 1126 Oak Avenue. And I also am an Evanston mom, and I'm also the proprietress of the Wine Goddess on Main Street. And what I would really like you to do is I just have these 3 sheets of paper. I would love to have the opportunity to go through them with you, because especially the last page, I think it does well to illustrate the deleterious effects that this has, particularly on the 4 independent retailers. I will say, as an Evanston resident and as a consumer, going to the restaurants, I don't really like paying an extra 7%, but I'm already going to pay 300 to 400% just by going out, because that is the markup. Really, what's another 6 onto that? But for retail, it really is obvious and noticeable, and I can't tell you how many conversations that I've had with customers about this, and they never go well. So if I could just direct your attention to the first sheet here, I literally called up on the phone 50 municipalities around us and talked to finance directors and city managers and the like. And I found that out of 50 cities, large kind of similar cities to Evanston, only, let's see, you have to get to 43 out of the 50 before anybody charges any form of a liquor tax. And if you'll note, those liquor taxes start off, pretty low. They kind of taper out around 3% is the average. But then here we are in Evanston, we are just leaps and bounds higher than anybody else. What I found that municipalities do have a lot of is, instead of a liquor tax, they have what's called a food and beverage tax. And that is what I believe Chicago has. It's not a liquor tax that their retailers pay. It's a 0.25% food and beverage tax, just like, 28 other municipalities out of the 50, instill. And those are usually between 0.25 and they go up to, I guess it's 2.5 for Naperville. And that depends on where you are in Naperville, whether you're in the city center or surrounding areas. And one of the things that I talked to these men and women about, especially in the finance departments, is they were saying, well, you can't possibly charge a liquor tax. How would we assess it on the liquor retailers? Because all they sell is liquor. And that's really not fair to have this blanket 6% tax that would definitely penalize the liquor stores proper. So the next page I haven't. And what I have to do here is to try, even though I don't believe in the liquor tax for any of us, I have to try to differentiate myself as a retail owner, because that's my experience and that's what I can speak to. So if you will go with me on this, and I'm sorry to the restaurants in the room, I'm about to let the cat out of the bag as far as markups go, but a wine retail markup is 50%. If a bottle of wine wholesales for $10, I will price it at my store at $14.99. That's a 50% markup. So retail, we spend $10 to make $5. Okay? Restaurants, on the other hand, a restaurant markup is 300%. And some that I've been the beverage director for in the past have even gone up to 400%. So if a bottle of wine wholesales for $10, a restaurant will put it on its wine list for $30 for a 300% markup. So restaurants spend $10 to make $20, and retail spends $10 to make $5. So truly, madly, deeply, nobody's getting rich here on the retail realm. So the next page is this Excel doc here. And what I've kind of done is I've taken this kind of hypothetical gross monthly sale number of $30,000 for both retail and for restaurant. And truly, madly, deeply, again, while that gross monthly sales revenue number is, could be a revenue number that I would experience at the Wine Goddess, restaurants are making a lot more money than that, and the successful ones 3 times that, 4 times that, et cetera. But we'll just go with it for our intents and purposes. So if my gross monthly sales are $30,000, and we're just in this first column here, my cost of goods sold, given a 50% markup, is $20,000. So I've paid my vendors $20,000, and my gross monthly profit in that is $10,000. Okay? And here's the real kicker. If you hear anything that I'm saying tonight, I really hope that you hear this. The problem with the 6% liquor tax is that we are liquor stores. So 95% of our gross sales are indeed liquor. So if we take 95% of the gross sale of $30,000 right there, $28,000, $28,500 is game for this 6% liquor tax. So if I make $28,500, I have to cut a check to the city for $1,710. So that's 17% of my gross monthly profit, as opposed to restaurants. Again, if they bring in 30 grand, their cost of goods sold on that, given a 300% markup, is 10 grand. So their gross monthly profit here is $20,000. I've asked my restaurant friends and compatriots, hey, what is a good number that I can use here? Like, in all of your gross sales, what percentage do you guys see liquor sales fall into? And a bunch of different restaurants said, yeah, I'd say 30%, roughly 30%. So the kicker here is 30% of the gross monthly profit of 20 grand is $9,000 there. So I'm sorry, I should say this. 6% of the gross monthly revenue is 9 grand. So a restaurant is only asked to pay the 6% liquor tax on $9,000. So then they turn around and they cut a check to the city of Evanston for $540, which is 2.75% of their gross profits. So I guess my reality is that we're the little guys. We don't make a lot of money at all, sadly. And we are asked to give a disproportionate amount of the little that we make to the city. And with every due respect to the great restaurants here in Evanston, they make leaps and bounds more money than these 4 little retailers do. And yet they are asked to give such a minor percent of their revenues to the city each month. 17% for retail, 2.75% for restaurants. So that's kind of where I am here, and that's why I'm just hoping that, I'm hoping that the liquor tax for these 4 retailers can just be gone, because for so many years we have given what is, in my opinion, a way more percentage than we frankly should have been all these years. But certainly what I would ask is for at least a discussion to say, to recognize, hey, you two guys have nowhere near the same business model, and yet we're applying this tax flatly to both of you.
Thank you. I don't see any lights, any comments. Alderman Burris?
Yeah, I just want a clarification.
Yeah.
You say you price your bottle at $14.99, just as an example. $14.99 plus 6%, or are you just saying it's $14.99 and that's what they give you, and then you don't put the tax on it, you pay your own tax?
Okay.
I'm a little confused by your chart.
Sure. I've done 2 things in the past. So it would be $14.99 would be the retail price that goes on the little sticker, okay? In the past, I have charged both the state and local 9% on that $14.99 and the city addendum liquor tax 6%. And for 8 months I did this, and that's where I had the bulk of these conversations. And it would always happen when people would come up, they'd buy an $8.99 bottle, they'd throw a 10 spot on the table. They'd buy a $17.99 bottle, they'd throw a 20 on the table. And I'd have to say, a little more, and then they'd be like, what do you mean? Because what I really have found...
I still don't think I have a clarification from
Okay.
you. So you're getting the $14.99, then you're charging the appropriate tax, which is then separated out, and that's what is going to the government entity. So your business is still getting the $14.99. So that's still a 50% markup. It's not like you're taking the $14.99, minusing 6% and giving that 6% to the government entity. Am I missing something?
No, I can,
Okay, I'm
I
not
can clear
missing,
this
all
up.
right. I just thought, okay,
Okay.
so really,
So I've-
the numbers don't, on the back sheet then, don't really add up correctly.
Well,
if
I will
I'm-
tell you, though, I've done it both ways. So for the first 9 months of my business, I was doing exactly that. And I just had so many of these conversations, and people would look me dead in the eye and say, why on earth should I spend 15% to buy wine at your shop rather than go over to Skokie? And I had no good answer. So then we actually switched point of sale systems. And our new point of sale system doesn't even allow for the dichotomy of two taxes to be assessed to the same product. So for a 9-month swath, I ate that. I ate the tax.
Why wouldn't you just change your, I mean, as a business person, I don't understand why you wouldn't change your point of sale system or
Right.
then raise the amount of the bottle of wine to cover the tax if you're going to do it as one.
Let's talk about
group.
that. So we have Binny's in Skokie, that's a couple of miles away from my shop. Retail pricing is super, super competitive. A retailer such as myself or Sandeep or Sips on Sherman, we have to charge 50% of a markup to be able to pay the rent. Binny's charges a 30% markup.
But we're not comparing, I'm not asking you to compare apples and oranges. What I'm asking is, when you're doing the chart on the back here, I'm kind of like into numbers. The numbers on the back don't necessarily make less, and how you're running the business of
Right.
you're eating the sales tax in order to be competitive is taking away from your profit. That, again, I'm not a small business person, but that doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. But again, I think most people go into, when someone goes in to buy food or at a restaurant or liquor or clothes or whatever it is, when it says $9.99, I assume I'm going to pay taxes on top of that $9.99. I would assume 98% of the people in the world think they're going to pay a tax on top of whatever it says on there. So I'm just surprised that people that come into your establishment would be shocked that there is a tax on top of it. That's my only point. And so the numbers don't add up for me in the back of the $14.99. You still have the 50% markup if you so choose. And then there's the tax piece, which should be separate, is all I'm saying, because this just doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
Right. But with that,
Sorry.
no, I have 4
I'm
employees.
sorry, I didn't have my mic on. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying that if we're going to do it, we have to compare everything. So I was just wondering about that. And also, it's a state tax as well as a local tax. So you're eating both of them.
No, God, no. I'm not eating both of them. I charge I've always charged the 9% tax. It's this additional 6% tax that for an 8-month swath, I was trying to pretty much hide in my prices because people were angry at the fact that they would have to spend 15% at my store and 8% in Kenilworth and 8% in Wilmette and, 9% in Skokie. But I was always I've always been charging the state and local
Right.
taxes.
The liquor commissioner would like to address the group. Mayor Tisdale, you want to come up, and then I'll have Alderman Grover and Alderman Breathway. We'll have to change places with you if you don't mind. Thank you.
Well, it might help if I said 3 things. The first thing is that the way I buy wine is I would much prefer to buy it at one of the small retailers, but I don't have time. Like everybody else, I'm very pressured in time, and so I apologize, but I grab a bottle at Whole Foods when I'm there because it's faster. So I think that's one problem that the small retailers face. Another problem is that no one other than the small retailers. The citizens have not come to me and complained about the tax, but restaurants certainly have let me know that a food and beverage tax would not be appreciated in Evanston, and we have a terrific number of restaurants who do a thriving business here. So those are my 3 points for your consideration.
Thank you. Alderman Grover?
For me, the discussion is mostly about the budget implications, and based upon the numbers from the 2013 total liquor sales in Evanston, even bringing down our liquor tax to 5% means it has about a $415,000 price tag to it for us. That is, it would be $413,000. Somebody else needs to work the numbers because I'm not so good at math tonight. But I think it's about $413,000 if the liquor tax were at 5%, and that we would be down about $827,000 if we move the liquor tax from 6 to 4%. That would be the implications to our budget. So for me, it's really about those hard numbers and what's the bottom line for our budget.
Mm-hmm. Alderman Breathwaite?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I guess what I hear the speaker asking is not to do an overall revamp of our alcohol tax, but to look at the small retailers separately. And so I'm looking at the time, and I know we have 2 other meetings to get to. So I guess the question for the committee is, do we want to open up that door, that conversation, to look at the small retail businesses and take a look at their tax structure? If not, then let's make a decision and move on, get to the rest of the business tonight.
I'm sorry. No. Well, this is for discussion only tonight anyway. I mean, this is...
I guess for a future agenda item.
Well, maybe. Alderman Rainey?
Well, one of the things is there's no graduated tax, I don't believe, at the state or other level, and I don't think there should be here. We do recognize the small businesses in terms of the price we charge for liquor licenses, and I think that's very fair and very proportionate to the size of the business, et cetera. So I wouldn't support this, and the only thing I would support on this is sending it back to the Liquor Commission for more discussion.
I think so, too. I think that's
I'm-
where it should go.
I mean, I don't even know if we need to do that because it's for discussion, but I would suggest the Liquor Commission have this, and then I would move to adjourn.
I'm going to allow you one more minute, Mr. Price, and also Diane, just because we need to close. Want to come up to the mic? And the reason why we asked you to come to the mic is because it's being telecast.
Yes. I think we were looking at about $2.5 million in liquor tax revenue. And my calculation of the 3 wine shops, excluding Evanston First Liquors, because it's a little different because of the mix of products that they sell, those 3 wine shops together probably are under $2 million in gross sales together. So we're looking at maybe $60,000 to $90,000 in liquor tax. And think about that as a percentage of the $2.5 million that you are collecting every year from all liquor selling establishments in Evanston. Are you really going to be missing that with the growth of restaurants and breweries and distilleries that are coming into Francis E. Willard's former home? Are you going to miss that? I think you should think about the market segment we're talking about, the small, independent, the boutique, and whether you want to have those continue to be in business in Evanston or not. And if you do, then I think you have to relax the taxation on those kinds of establishments. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Really briefly, I do just want to say for the record, reflecting something that the mayor said when she said that she hasn't heard of any opposition about the liquor tax. I have a petition that I've gotten over 400 signatures that are very much against the liquor tax, and that just took one person on my own social media. And not only that, but we have 14 pages of really cogent citizens' views absolutely against the liquor tax. So I don't know why the mayor said that.
Thank you. Okay. We have heard, we will refer this back to the Liquor Commission, and I think that concludes our agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn? And I believe P&D probably would start in about 10 minutes because we're 5 minutes over already.